The city lights of New York shimmered as Ava walked down the familiar streets of the Lower East Side, her thoughts consumed by the recent breakup with her longtime boyfriend, Ethan. Ava had always been the type to wear her heart on her sleeve, and Ethan was her first love. Their relationship had been a whirlwind, much like a Taylor Swift song, full of passion, laughter, and moments that felt like they were written for the soundtrack of her life. But it wasn't meant to be. The fairy tale ended in tears, with too many fights, too many miscommunications, and a love that had once been so bright slowly dimming. Ava couldn't help but think about the lyrics of Taylor Swift's Back to December, the song that had played in her mind every time she thought about Ethan. Maybe this time I'll be so lucky, she whispered to herself as she turned the corner. She missed him, but deep down, she knew that it wasn't the love they needed anymore. Ava entered the small cafe she often visited to clear her mind. The warm aroma of coffee greeted her, and the sounds of soft jazz music playing in the background soothed her soul. The cafe was her refuge, a place where she could gather her thoughts and process her emotions, much like Taylor Swift did in her music. Ava sat at a corner table, her fingers drumming lightly on the wooden surface as she looked out the window at the bustling streets. And then, like the twist in every great love song, Luke walked in. Luke was new to the city, or at least that's what Ava gathered from the way he looked around, clearly a little out of place. His dark hair was tousled, and he wore a leather jacket that gave him an air of quiet confidence. His eyes met hers, and in that instant, something clicked. It was as if the world had paused for a moment, and all the noise of her past faded into the background. The way he smiled at her, shy yet warm, reminded her of a line from Taylor Swift's Enchanted. "This night is sparkling, don't you let it go," Ava thought, watching Luke as he ordered his coffee at the counter. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt this way, something pure, something untouched by the hurt of the past. Luke took a seat at the table next to hers, and after a few moments of nervous glances and awkward silences, he finally spoke. "Hey, is this seat taken?" he asked with a soft chuckle. Ava looked up, startled, but smiled. "No, feel free." They began talking, first about New York, then about their favorite books, and before long, they found themselves lost in conversation, as though they had known each other for years. Luke had a way of making her laugh. He wasn't Ethan, but he didn't need to be. There was something so refreshing about being around him, and Ava couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, love was something she could find again. As the day wore on, their conversation deepened, and Ava began to share bits of her past with him, her heartbreak, and the emotional scars left behind by Ethan. Luke listened with patience, never judging, and instead offering quiet words of comfort. He wasn't offering solutions or advice, he was simply there, a quiet support in the middle of her storm. Days turned into weeks, and Ava found herself spending more and more time with Luke. They shared coffee dates, long walks through the city, and hours of talking about life. He was everything Ethan wasn't: calm, grounded, and free of the complications that had plagued her previous relationship. But with every day that passed, Ava began to feel the familiar pull of fear. She had been here before. She had loved deeply, and it had ended in heartbreak. Was she ready to risk her heart again? Was Luke someone she could trust with the fragile pieces of her soul? One evening, as they stood in the park, under the glow of the setting sun, Ava felt the words rise in her chest. It was time to speak her truth. She turned to Luke, her heart racing. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice shaky. "I'm scared of falling again. I thought I could handle it after Ethan, but now I'm not sure. I've been hurt, Luke. Really hurt." Luke's expression softened, and for a moment, he said nothing. Then, he took her hands in his touch gentle but firm. "I'm not asking you to forget what happened with Ethan," he said softly, "but you don't have to carry that pain alone. Love isn't about perfection. It's about learning to trust again, even when you've been broken." His words were like the bridge of a Taylor Swift song, offering healing when everything else felt broken. Ava couldn't help but let go of her fear in that moment. Maybe love didn't have to be perfect, maybe it just needed to be real. Ava and Luke continued their blossoming relationship, each day bringing them closer. But as the weeks passed, Ava's heart still ached with the memories of Ethan. Songs like All Too Well replayed in her mind, moments of clarity and loss that were impossible to erase. Her love for Luke was growing, but the weight of her past held her back. One evening, as they sat on a bench by the river, Ava felt a familiar wave of sadness. She had hoped that love would feel easy again, that it would be simple, like the songs on the radio. But it wasn't. It was messy. It was complicated. Luke noticed the shift in her mood and turned to her, concern in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Ava took a deep breath, gathering the strength to speak the words she had been holding back. "I think I need to let go of the past," she said, tears threatening to spill. "I thought I could move on without truly confronting the pain. But the truth is, I've been living in the past, holding on to what's gone. I need to let go of Ethan and embrace what's here with you." With time, Ava's heart began to heal. She no longer carried the weight of her past with Ethan. She had learned to embrace the present, to trust in love again, and to let herself be vulnerable in the way that only true love allowed. And through it all, Luke remained steady by her side, offering her the quiet support she had always needed. In the final moments of the story, as Ava stands on a bridge, looking at the city skyline, she can't help but smile. The love she shares with Luke is different, it's not perfect, but it's real. It's built on trust, on forgiveness, and on the understanding that love, in its truest form, is about growing together, no matter how many heartbreaks you've experienced along the way. As she watches the sunset, Ava feels a sense of peace wash over her. "This is what love feels like," she whispers to herself, the words echoing in her heart. And for the first time in a long time, Ava knows that the song of her life is still being written, and this time, she's ready to embrace it.